Hey, Gen Max, I have a question for you, and that is, do you want the next 20 years of your life to look like the last 40 years of your life? And that is a question that it didn't necessarily bring Matthew to Mexico, but it's what put him on a path towards getting to Mexico. And so we're going to talk today with Matthew, and he is here. He's an author. He had a career. His wife had a career. She retired young. They have a daughter. There's a lot to talk about in this video. And also they have a home here that they're selling. So you can also possibly, if you want to hop into Matthew's life, you could hop right into his home. But let's go ahead and meet Matthew now.
I'm Matthew. My wife and daughter and I moved to La Paz 2 years ago from Washington State.
So Matthew has this beautiful home here. We were actually here to shoot a different video about moving to Mexico with kids. And so you're gonna find that video if it's ready in one of these corners, but we're just gonna talk about his life beyond his daughter. And if you wanna talk more about with his daughter, we're gonna have that in a different video. Let's go back to right around age 40 for Matthew and hear what life was like for him. And when he asked himself that question, about does he want the last 20 years to look like the next, or the next 20 to look like the last 40?
I was in the hospitality industry, which, you know, anybody that's ever done it knows it's an insanely huge amount of hours. And it was turning 40, it was my birthday, and I thought to myself, did I want the next 20 years of my life to be exactly like the last 20? And I absolutely didn't. And I'd always wanted to be a writer. And so I just decided one day, you know what, I'm going to quit my career and I'm going to try to be a writer. So I spent a year writing the first draft, 170,000 words of crap, and then I spent the next 5 years actually learning how to write. So the book came out, and it was greatly reviewed, and I'm very, very proud of it. And I absolutely do not regret for 1 second making that decision. The book is called Falling Onto Cotton. It's the tagline is an innocent restaurateur's life spins out of control when his dying uncle, a Milwaukee crime lord, taps him to become the next Don. Available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble, audiobook, print, ebook, whichever you need. So it's a great book. You should read it.
And actually, I just remembered that is how Matthew and I kind of first met, was because one of my high school friends used to be one of his chefs in a restaurant in Milwaukee. So it is definitely a small world. My old friend, Michael, reached out and said, hey, here's this guy, Matthew, that you need to meet, and you live pretty close to each other. And we got together. He's part of a garden club that my wife started. So this really is a great spot. It's really easy. Once again, I usually talk about how easy it is to meet people and make friends as an adult down here. So next, let's bring in his family into the conversation. They were a little too shy to be on camera, but we can talk about them.
I had written the first draft and spending a couple of years trying to actually learn how to write, and met my future wife, and we got married, and we have a daughter who's now 12, Rory, who was a huge part of the reason why we decided to move to Mexico. So it was during the pandemic. My wife was working for a company 70 hours a week. I was at home raising our daughter, and she just was missing everything. She didn't get to see Rory growing up. And one day I looked at her and I said, you know, we're in a very fortunate position. And I said, you know, what are you still working for? It's just so we can buy more stuff from Amazon. And that started the conversation of what we wanted our lives to look like for the next 20, 30 years, and what Rory, how we wanted Rory to grow up, in what environment. And that's when we started looking at going somewhere else.
Okay, so I want to hear where somewhere else was when they first started looking.
The reasons why we thought about leaving the States, well, there was a lot of reasons. You know, politics was really ugly, crime was really high, school shootings made us really nervous, but it was also the quality of life. It's a very materialistic area that we lived in Washington, and I was very uncomfortable with that. My wife was uncomfortable with that. We wanted something that was more family focused. So we originally were looking at Spain and Portugal, France and Italy, and Mexico. Now, my wife's dad had lived as a snowbird in Mexico for about 15 years, so she was familiar with Mexico. Mexico was absolutely last on my list. Like, I didn't even want to visit Mexico because I was full of all the news stories that they have in the States about the violence here. My wife convinced me to come down for a week, to visit, and I went to Todos Santos for a little while, and then I came to La Paz. And even just leaving the airport and driving to Todos Santos, I was amazed at how beautiful it was. I never thought a desert was beautiful until I came here. I fell in love with La Paz on this visit, and it really, I mean, my view just really changed. The people were so warm and welcoming and helpful. The sunshine's amazing. And I could tell right away that everything was really family oriented here, which was really important to us. And so we started shopping for real estate, met our agent, who has now become my best friend, Ian, sold our house and moved down here all within like 3 months.
It's interesting about the idea of things being family oriented and why these guys like La Paz so much. Kat and I don't have kids, but that was one of the things we really liked about La Paz, is that it was family oriented. There's just something special about like going down to the Malecon on a Sunday night and seeing all the families out. It just feels right. I can definitely appreciate that compared to maybe some other parts of Mexico or other countries. But let's start to talk about this house here and buying this. And yeah, let's go into some kind of interesting details there.
While we were doing all of our web research on real estate here, there was an area of lots that were being sold here in Centenario that looked pretty amazing. The views looked really, really great. So I had flown down here and met with Ian, and we toured the lot, and we decided that we were going to buy. Construction was about to begin, which was great. We moved down here, and we thought we were going to rent while we built the house. Ended up that there was a housing crunch, a rental crunch, and there was nothing available. So we ended up buying this house just down the road from where we're building, and stayed 2 wonderful years in this gorgeous house as we built our other house.
And actually, you can probably, I have another video with Jim McDonald, who works with Ian, where we toured that subdivision probably about the same time, about 2 years ago, when it was just some sticks in the ground, no roads, no nothing, just sticks. And I haven't even been back to see it. And we're just going to be here with Matthew. One of the things he mentioned was having dogs. So they have dogs, and it was hard to get a rental that they wanted because of the dogs. The dogs are over at the other house because that house is complete now and they are living in it. But we met over here because it's a nice and quiet place to do this interview. So let's go ahead and talk about this house and kind of give you a tour and see this house is currently available.
This is considered Lomas in Centenario on 12th. It's a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath. It has a pool, mature fruit trees, and a very large garden with a shaded area and a dining table outside, as well as a patio next to the pool. And then there's also a rooftop deck, which has amazing views of the Bay of La Paz. The thing that I love about this house, and it was hard to leave actually, is it's so peaceful here. It's so quiet. The sunsets are amazing, the sunrises are amazing, and you just kind of feel like you're the only person here. And as a writer, that's important. So when my 12-year-old isn't screaming at me for something, it's actually extraordinarily peaceful here. It has electronic garage gates for 2 cars, 2 SUVs size. It's fully fenced, with safety railing over most of it. So you walk in the front door, you have your 3 bedrooms, there's a hallway, and then there's the master bedroom, which has walk-in closets on both sides for his and hers, and then the dual vanity bathroom with shower, and then there's what we used as an office, but there's a second bedroom right there in the front, and then 2 bathrooms, one with a shower, one just a half bath, and then our daughter's room, which also has an enclosed outdoor area with some greenery in it. Lets a lot of light in, which is beautiful. And then you walk into the open style kitchen and dining area and living room.
And if you haven't yet subscribed to this channel, I want to make sure that you do that. I've got a QR code up here actually, and that's for those of you who watch on a TV screen. You can just go ahead and use your cell phone to turn on the photo and highlight over that, look at that, and a little line should show up, and that will open up the subscribe link on my website. For those of you who are on YouTube on a computer or on your phone, there should be a subscribe link or a button down below. Let's get back to our interview. Okay, before we get on to the rest of the house, I want to go back to when they bought this house, because they bought it when it was brand new. So let's back up a little bit and then we'll continue.
When we bought this house, the thing to consider about houses in Mexico that are brand new is they absolutely do not come with anything. They don't come with towel racks or toilet paper holders or curtains or ACs. So we furnished everything, put in the wall and all the appliances, high-end appliances, dishwasher, washer and dryer, refrigerator. So I think it's a 5-burner stove or 6-burner stove. And then all the furnishings are included in the house.
So there we go. You kind of heard the rest of the house was the kitchen, as we just saw, and then the living room and dining room next to each other, which open out into the pool with a great view up into the hills of Centenario. From the rooftop, you have that amazing view of the city of La Paz with the sunsets to one side and the sunrises to the other. But for the most part, coming out the house, you have the view of the backyard and, you know, kind of a nice greenery around. Lomas means hills, I think, and that's kind of what's common up here is, and it really is quiet up here. Most places in Mexico, definitely down where we live, is not quiet. So this is surprisingly quiet. I hear the birds chirping, and there really is just nothing going on noise-wise around here.
If you're interested, it's on the market for $439,000 US, or its equivalents in pesos on the day of close. You can reach out to Ian Wilson at Baja Life Realty and come take a tour.
Okay, so this is probably a quicker video than most because I have a whole nother video to shoot with Matthew about his daughter and being in school here. I'm doing a big video about moving your family to Mexico. But this is a great opportunity for you. As I mentioned earlier, you could just step right into Matthew's footsteps. And, you know, if this is what the next 20 years of your life, if this is what you want it to look like, if this is the view you want here, this could be the house for you, or any other house anywhere in Mexico might be right for you. But I love posing those questions because I really want you guys to dig deep and think, like, is how my life is going the way I want it to continue? And then what's possible? And sometimes what's possible moving to another country or moving to Mexico is much bigger than what's possible if you stay in the United States. So that's how I want to wrap up this video. Once again, what's your next 20 years going to look like? I've got some more videos up here of other people that could inspire you to add some adventure to your next 20 years. Hasta luego.